Hello everyone, I am Alison from Ageless Curiosity, and in this video I will talk about our top 5 tips when cruising in Alaska. This is based on what we found following our recent cruise on board Celebrity Eclipse. This is not a trip you should book without any planning, as there are so many variables to take into account, and this could make a difference to the enjoyment of your holiday. You shouldn't consider this as a chore though. I can spend ages researching places to stay, excursions, flights, etc. And this for me can be just as enjoyable as being on the cruise itself. Take note of a well-known quote from the inspirational Benjamin Franklin: "By failing to plan, you are preparing to fail." So for my first tip, which itinerary is best for you? You basically have 3 options. First option is a return trip from Seattle or Vancouver along the Inside Passage with around 3 port stops and 1 day scenic cruising to a glacier such as Hubbard Glacier or Glacier Bay. There is often 2 sea days, so you need to consider if you are someone who enjoys the activities on the ship or if you are eager to explore ports with less sea days. Second option is a one-way cruise north or southbound between Vancouver or Seattle and the ports nearer Anchorage, which is much further north in Alaska than the 2-way cruises can get to. The advantage of a one-way cruise can be less sea days and more port days, and you often add on a pre or post tour to explore other parts of Alaska, such as the Denali National Park. The downside can be the cost and availability of flights from smaller airports. Now, option 3 combines the cruise with a stay in other cities in Northwest America and may interest those who live some distance from Alaska, such as Europe or Eastern Canada or America. This is what we did on our recent cruise, and the idea stemmed from our aim of spending air miles on our flights to and from the UK. Looking at broader options opened up more airports to fly to. We ended up flying to San Francisco, where we spent 3 nights exploring before catching a quick and very reasonable flight to Vancouver, where we spent a further 2 nights before joining our cruise. If you haven't already, do have a look at our recent video of the time we had in these locations. We will include the links in the description below. Upon disembarking back in Vancouver, we caught a bus for a mere $27 each to Seattle, where we spent our final 2 nights before flying home to the UK. We basically took advantage of being in this part of the world, and we made the most of our time. We were able to tick off more locations and activities from our bucket list. If you're flying from the UK or Europe without such an extended stay, I would suggest arriving a day or 2 before the cruise if possible, as there is an 8-hour time difference. This will enable your body clock to adjust ahead of the cruise. Alaska is another 1 hour behind in time from Vancouver, so we had another slight adjustment to make. It was no wonder so many travellers on this trip were up for breakfast. My second tip is, which cruise line do you choose? Many of the well-known cruise lines have itineraries to Alaska, such as Celebrity, Princess, Royal Caribbean, Holland America, Carnival, Disney and Norwegian, to name but a few. You need to think about the size of ship and facilities which appeal to you, especially if there are sea days, and check if that suits all those who are travelling with you. For instance, if you have children in your party, you may want to consider the facilities on board cruise lines such as Royal Caribbean, Disney and Norwegian, which cater more for children and teenagers, whereas a more mature traveller may prefer the enrichment that is offered by cruise lines such as Holland America, Celebrity and Princess. On our recent cruise, we had a naturalist, not to be confused with a naturist, on board our Celebrity cruise, and we enjoyed his talks about nature and wildlife. Perhaps look at various cruise ship videos you can find on YouTube. Our upcoming videos will showcase Celebrity Eclipse. For tip 3, I will talk about booking excursions. The first thing to say is that Alaskan excursions in general are very expensive, even if you arrange them privately rather than through your cruise line. In fact, we were surprised to find that our duck tour in Ketchikan was significantly cheaper booked through the cruise line. If you choose to do so, it's always best to book early, as they can get booked quickly. This is, after all, for many, a once-in-a-lifetime trip. do be mindful that many trips are dependent on the weather and as a result often get cancelled at last minute. By booking through your cruise line, they will always either offer you an alternative or a refund if the trip is cancelled. Excursions range from relaxing guided coach tours to more energetic hikes or cycle rides. There are food tasting tours and opportunities to see local wildlife. For those who really want to tick off experiences from their bucket list, you will find helicopter or seaplane flights over glaciers, husky sledging experiences and whale watching boat trips. But be aware, some excursions can cost many hundreds of dollars each. Another reason to book ahead so you have the time to save up. However, all is not lost if you choose not to book excursions or you don't manage to get the ones you want. There is still the option of exploring the towns on foot. A great example being Ketchikan, where we moored right in the heart of the town, which allowed us to explore on foot with ease, exploring Creek Street and the surrounding shops. When mooring further away from the town, such as in Sitka, be mindful that when there are other cruise ships in port, there can be long queues for the shuttle, so you might need to be off the ship early if you are taking a private excursion that starts in the town. For tip 4, we will look at when is the best time to cruise in Alaska. Well, it all depends. Maybe ask yourself a few questions. Do you need to travel in the school holidays? Do you mind if it is colder or if it is more likely to be raining? Do you mind crowds? A really important factor considered is how much is your budget. The main Alaska season is May to September, with a few cruise lines offering trips from mid-April to mid-October. It is certainly cheaper to travel in the shoulder season, which is May or September, but each month has its own pros and cons. May is ideal for less crowds, a cheaper fare and less chance of rain, but it could be colder than later in the season. June can be warmer with longer days. Flowers are coming into bloom and nature is active. It gets busier later in the month with the start of school holidays and fares then start to go up. July and August are peak season for cost and crowds, as it is the school holidays in most of the Northern Hemisphere. It is likely to be warmer, but there is a greater chance of rainy days later in the summer, and those mosquitoes can be a nuisance later in August. September can be quieter and cheaper, but it can also be wetter, and the days are shorter, as we experienced on our cruise. Having said all that, Alaska is still a wonderful place whatever time of year, and indeed it can rain at any time. This brings me on to another area that needs some planning. For tip 5, we will explore what to pack. Let's talk clothing. It may not come as a surprise to hear the number 1 tip is layers, layers, layers. This was also true in the Norwegian fjords, when you can have several seasons in the one day. Just be prepared for rain, whichever time of the year you go. This means bringing a decent waterproof rain jacket that you can then fold up into your bag if it is dry and warm, and waterproof shoes or boots are a must. This will not only keep your feet dry, but also give you grip on the various terrain you may come across. We also brought waterproof covers for our day bag, which kept all the contents dry. They fold up really small and are very light when packing. As we were also spending time in other places pre and post cruise, we did need to pack clothes that we would not need on the cruise itself. By this I mean warm weather clothes such as shorts and t-shirts. These were not worn on the cruise as it was not warm or dry enough. We did therefore have fully packed cases. One tip that I would like to share with you is the use of roll-up vacuum travel bags. They do not require a pump and are easy to use. I save so much space in my case, with the bulky items literally shrinking in size before my eyes. We found that this cruise was more relaxed than the other cruises we have been on when it comes to evening attire, which did suit us. There was no expectation of dinner jackets for men and evening dresses or glitzy clothing for women, even on our 2 formal nights. But this was our first cruise with Celebrity. Maybe you could let us know in the comments if this is usual for Celebrity Cruise Line or if this is typical in Alaska. I really did not need to bring as much evening wear. And as for shoes, I could have managed without heels as my feet were tired from all the walking and I did not end up wearing my evening dresses. There were other items we brought with us and would recommend you consider. A portable battery pack for your phone and camera so you don't miss out on capturing some incredible images. binoculars so you can view wildlife and glaciers from the ship and on excursions, packing cubes so you can separate your clothing. For us, this was helpful for our cruise and non-cruise clothes. Sunglasses due to the glare from the glacier. In terms of documentation, do check what immigration paperwork is required, as well as the expiry date of your passport. As we were travelling from the UK, we needed an ESTA to enter America and ETA for Canada. This paperwork is not related to COVID and you will be denied entry without it. Do also carry photo ID with you, as well as your cruise card when you were in port. This was required in Sitka and Juneau in order for us to get back onto the ship during our port stop. My bonus tip is to make the most of the scenic cruising. It might mean an early start, but find a spot with a view. It may also be in an unexpected place. We found on Celebrity Eclipse the outside area at the front of the gym had a wonderful view of the bow when approaching the Hubbard Glacier. And be mindful that the ship makes a 360-degree turn, so you can have a great view wherever you are on the ship. You do not miss out if you don't have a balcony, as there are plenty of inside and outside spots you can use. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you found these tips useful. We would love to hear your own comments and tips of your Alaska cruise in the comments below. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel so you don't miss out on our videos of our cruise to Alaska, including our port stops and scenic cruise to the Hubbard Glacier. Good luck and have fun with your own planning. Bye for now.